Are we live? All right. So this is the Lord and a podcast, and again, I'm here with Phil Lyman, and this is a follow-up. If you just watched our last episode with Tim Ballard, so Phil, tell me what Tim couldn't tell me.
Yeah. Well, Tim and I came together because we're fighting the same source corruption, which is coming right out of the governor's office in Utah. People don't realize all of the connections that go to that. So I was running for governor. And the only reason I was running for governor, I'm not an office seeker. I'm a corruption fighter, and I knew that there was a lot of corruption in the governor's office. I was a county commissioner for 8 years, been a state legislator for the last 6 years, and there's a syndicate in Utah that protects their stuff, their operation, their agenda, and unfortunately, Tim was a target of that, coming straight out of the governor's office with Utah attorneys, going to Columbia. It's really nasty.
Why? Why was Tim targeted?
Well, he was targeted because he wanted to run for senator. I mean, that's when it came out. So he leaked that he was going to run for senator, and all of these allegations just flooded out. And they're saying, "Oh no, this didn't have anything to do with this politics." Well, anyone that's been in politics very long knows. Well, that's exactly what it has to do with. Of course, you can't just discount the timing of those things. And with Tim Ballard, they basically took out Sean Reyes, who was the attorney general, kind of neutralized him. The day that he announced that he wasn't going to run again, he was dropped from the lawsuit, the same lawsuit that Tim was in.
Wow.
And again, I wasn't involved with Tim at that point. The reason I got involved was because the same people that were accusing Tim get on social media and they come after me. I didn't even know who they were, and until a day later, and somebody said, "Oh, those are the same people that were accusing Tim, including one of their attorneys." And so I was like, I had no idea. And that's when they said, "Well, you should talk to Tim about this." And so I didn't go and take up Tim's case. I took up the same case that he was taking up, which was fighting the corruption. And now this case with the with the person from Sound of Freedom, Simba, in Utah, it's really eye-opening. It's not a question of if this is going to come out; it's just when. And with corruption, it's always a question of when, because we fight a lot of hope with Trump in office, a lot of hope with Doge, and all these things are coming in. But we got to come to Utah at some point. That's my reason for coming to CPAC, is to convince people at a national level it's worth looking at on the corruption side.
Who all have you been talking with?
I mean, talked with Jack Posobiec. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Johnson.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah,
if you did that with me with names, I'd be like, that last three guests ago. Who was that guy?
You like shift your brain. But I've been phenomenal out here this week. I met with Eduardo, the guy that was running for president in Mexico this morning. Phenomenal.
Was he on the stage?
He was on the stage.
I want to interview that guy. If you can get him to come over, that would be great. I heard what he was saying. And oh man,
me too.
Talk about fighting the real fight.
So you talk about and he said there, if the United States, if the good guys in the United States team up with the good guys in Mexico, you have Sound of Freedom. If you have the bad guys team up with the bad guys in Mexico, you have fentanyl, trafficking, everything that we've got going on in the United States and in Utah, and all of this stuff gets. We talk about these things in political terms, but my own experience and my own background is seeing this really affect the lives of individuals. And when we're talking about human trafficking, we don't really stop to contemplate the horror in the lives of these children. And you're stealing their souls. You're taking away everything from them. And that's so as a county commissioner, I ended up getting prosecuted, kind of like a January 6th type thing, purely political. Got convicted, went to jail. Yeah, and you're thinking that you're fighting like some actual offense or something. You're lawyering up. You spend $400,000 on attorneys. When all is said and done, the dust starts to settle, and you see who's really behind it. Like in my case, right from the governor's office, either pushing it or at least not stepping in where they should. It's just a betrayal, and that's so many people feel betrayed in America, and that's why this whole renaissance, this year of jubilee that's coming up, it really is. And I watched Elon Musk last night, and
wasn't that incredible?
So good.
So I was telling,
helpful,
there's the media back here.
Yeah.
You can tell they're all liberals. And they're not interested. They're not clapping. And my wife's sitting in the very front row of the media section, filming, from there, and she'll clap. When they say, and then, but when Elon went in there, even the media was just. It was this energy like I have never seen before.
Well, that's with Trump. You just cannot deny no matter if you're a liberal or a conservative, you can't deny the power that he's coming in with, and the resolve.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't have that resolve if he had been elected to his second term in 2020.
I like the 47th president better than I like the 45th.
Oh yeah. He's got a mandate.
And it was a total blessing because the country saw the difference. We saw the difference.
Yeah.
And now it's America again.
You're right.
As opposed to it was the theft of America.
That's what I say. We're dealing with professional political pirates.
Correct.
And I'm going to be curious to see what they find at Fort Knox. This is actually stealing gold.
I heard that they were shipping a bunch of gold back.
Yeah.
Into Fort Knox.
EPA is out trying to buy gold to balance the books. It's why is the EPA
having to do that?
Yeah.
And is any of it real? Or is it, I loved how he said, is it lead painted gold? What is it?
Yeah.
And how do you know? How do you test all of it? How do you know how some of it is not? But
well, I liked what Eduardo, I can't pronounce his last name, what he said this morning too about he says not the opposition, it's the opposition.
Right.
It's like, and that's what we've got in Utah. It's like, oh, well, we're turning blue. It's like, we're not. The people are in Utah are conservative, but they want this narrative to be, oh, look, Utah's turning blue. They steal elections. They pad the votes. They flood things in there with this narrative that Utah is somehow becoming something that it's unless I'm really out of tune. I think I know what's going on, and Utah's not. We're not a blue state. We're a conservative state. We're a Trump state. We're a MAGA state.
That's exactly what I would think.
I can't see how it would be anything otherwise.
I hope that nationwide voter integrity gets really solidified in ways, and if there are things with the vote in Utah that you can identify and bring that to the national level to prevent that type of thing, because otherwise if you're, I'm not saying that there is or not, by the way, for YouTube, these are just matters of opinion and we're just talking amongst us, but I'm trying to not get our channel struck.
Yeah.
But if there is a party in control who is manipulating the voting, they'll never become out of control. You can't vote fraud out.
Right.
You can't overcome the fraud.
Right.
It's impossible. So it never can be rectified by that means. It's going to take something like the national. And that's also why there's not a national popular vote.
So when I ran, again, I'm not an office seeker. I was taking on the corruption. I was blown away with the support that we got. We won the convention with 68%. Spencer Cox claimed to have gotten signatures. We've done an audit now, said he didn't get signatures, so we didn't qualify for a primary. And now he says, well, he won the primary, but he won't let us see the records. Now, 10 years ago, I would have gone in. I would have uploaded the voter rolls by precinct. I would have compared the cast vote records, which I would have had access to by precinct, and I would have compared those things and done. I'm a CPA, so that's what I do. It's like, well, let's compare. Let's time frames and categories and all these things. After the 2020 election, we did some of that. We found some real issues, and they come out and say, well, the response, rather than going and finding those issues, is no one must ever look at cast vote records again. So they're passing legislation. You can't look at cast vote records.
The only reason to do that is cheat.
Yeah. So it's obfuscation. We're down to blatant obfuscation. You can never look at the cast vote records again. You can never look at the voter rolls again. Complete lack of transparency. And Utah should not be we should have a culture of transparency, a culture of disclosure. And instead, Utah is like the opposite. It's like acceptable gaslighting and obfuscation.
The only reason that possibly could exist, just my opinion, is fraud.
Yeah. And why we accept it is again, it's a function of being told over and over and over. And in Utah, I mean, the governor's office runs the governor's office of communications. They basically write most of the stories for the local media. Wow. And it's so in your face and so blatant. And that's the thing. The more times they lose, the more people wake up and say, "This is clearly a problem."
Are the courts? Are you having any issues with the king getting the right results. And
judges are appointed by Spencer Cox, and our cases get thrown out. We say we want to look at the cast vote records. You go to the state records committee, they deny you. They're appointed by Cox. You go to the district court, they dismiss your case. The judge is appointed by Cox. These are not unreasonable requests. And like I say, 10 years ago, we would have just gone online and downloaded the information.
Do you have elected judges or appointed judges?
Appointed.
Only appointed judges?
Only appointed judges.
Wow.
Appointed by the governor.
Wow. So they're totally in their pocket.
Confirmed by the Senate. Yeah. Confirmed by the Senate, which we're working on some bills to, make that a little bit more Senate driven instead of governor driven. But right now it's completely driven by the governor. And we've got other cases, some ritualistic child abuse cases that, the prosecutor is hot on the trail, and all of a sudden he gets appointed to be a judge, and he's pulled off of that case. And then it's coming to court, and the judge who seems to be favorable to doing something about it is replaced with a judge who is going to throw it out. And like I said, the more you pay attention, the more you realize that there's a game that's being played that most people don't recognize.
Wow. I'm really sorry to hear that, Phil.
Well, we're going to fix it. And then with Trump,
good.
We're going to fix it. So,
good. I hope that you get the right ears and the right attention to that.
Me too.
And a right solution.
Thanks, Dana.
Thank you, Phil.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on. Great to meet you.
Thank you so much.
So we are live here at CPAC, and powerful stories. I was telling you, I've learned more in the past 2 days from watching all this. It's fantastic. And so subscribe, tell us what you think in the comments, and make sure you have that bell turned on. We're about to have Mike Rowe come up as our next guest at 3 o'clock. So stay tuned, and we will be back live. This is the Lawyer Dana Show.
Thank you.